Hello everybody, my name is Arthur from Doing Games. I will record one video of the tutorial how to play Downfall of Empires. I would like to apologize because my English is not as good as I would like to, but hope you could at least understand me. Well, let's go straight ahead because the video will be so long. So let's start with a few definitions. The game it's about the First World War, and just to remind the sides of this war, there there were there were two big coalitions like the Triple Entente and the Central Powers, and each coalition have several powers. So starting again, we've got in the game four big powers: France, Germany, Russia, and Austro-Hungarian power, and two coalitions. And each power belongs to one coalition. For example, German and the Austro-Hungarian belongs to the Central Powers coalition, and France and Russia belongs to the other coalition, to the Triple and Entente coalition. So France and Russia are friends and are against uh, the other coalition, which is Germany and Austro-Hungarian. Okay, so being two players, it's easy to take powers because one player obviously will take one side, one coalition would be Germany and the Austro-Hungarian power, and the other would be France and Russia. Being four players, it's also easy. Each player will take one power, and when you play three players, one of the players needs to take two powers. So maybe Germany and Austro-Hungarian or France and Russia. And the remainder two players will take the other two powers still free. Okay, well, let me explain a few things about those three levels. We have the major level, it's the coalition level, it's the biggest level. I already explained you. Second level, it's the power level. I already explained you. And third level, it's the country. So, for example, France is one country belonging to the French and UK power, and France and UK power belongs to one coalition, which is the Triple Entente. Another example, Serbia, it's one country belonging to the France and UK power and also belonging to the Triple Entente coalition. Another example, if Italy joins the war, you see the symbols here are the same that the France UK. When Italy joins the war, Italy is a country. Italy will belong to the French and UK power and also to the Triple Entente coalition. On the other side, for example, let's say that Bulgaria joins the war. See that symbol here is the same as the Austro-Hungarian. So if Bulgaria joins the war, Bulgaria is a country. Bulgaria will belong to the Austro-Hungarian power, and Austro-Hungarian obviously forms part of the Central Powers uh, coalition. I hope this is quite clear because I will be using these concepts a lot during this explanation. Well, returning to the map, we will have areas or zones. Sometimes it's called areas, sometimes it's called zones, and the armies will move around the zones. Okay, eventually armies can do a naval movement, and this only corresponds to UK and USA armies that can go from port to port, but later we'll explain you all these things. Well, we have also a victory point track. At the end, you will see that each power have uh, a marker, and we at the end of the game we can calculate how many victory points each power have, and the player that plays with the the um, the power with most victory points, it's the winner of the game. Okay, so you see that the game starts with every country having different initial di- different victory points. For example, Germany starts with less 3 points, and Russia starts with 5 points. Okay. Well, another concept I would like to explain you is the term of army. The We have armies in this game. It's a level army war game, and each army have two steps, two sides. I will show you. For example, this army has a combat factor 3. Okay, this is the strength in combat, and it is flipped. It have only a factor of 2. We call sometimes step. So a complete army like this have two steps, or two, yes, two steps. I think it's easy, and it's halved. There it only have one step. So sometimes it will, if I want, for example, to build a complete army, I will have to spend two steps. Recruitment. If I would like to recruit a half army, I will have to spend one point. But I will tell you this later. Okay. Another thing we can see in the map are the cities. The cities are quite important. You see that uh, the cities are in different colors based on the country, on the, sorry, the country, not the power it belongs. For example, of all the cities of French UK power are blue, like these ones and these ones, and Serbia. All the cities of Russia are this kind of brown, and also Romania. Okay, and all the cities of Germany are black, and all the cities of what's left, Austro-Hungarian are red. Okay, Austro-Hungarian, for example, if sometimes during the game I have a doubt that um, Turkey, the country that the Turkey country um, who belongs to, but seeing that symbol, I immediately see that the Turkey belongs to the Austro-Hungarian, in case Turkey is activated. Okay, more things we have on the map. It's the diplomacy track. This is because we start the game with several countries that are neutral, like Italy, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, etc. And the way we have that to join the war, that those countries to join the war is to increase those markers. I will speak you later when we speak about diplomacy. Okay, we have the term marker. There are some notes on that happens different years. We will play 18 turns. At the end of the last turn, we will see the victory points, and this will give us the winner of the game. What else? We have some spaces for technologies. You will see that powers will develop technologies, and we will use those spaces to indicate the technologies that are in progress. Okay, once we finish on technology, we will take this out from this box, and this technology will be 100 finished, and we can use from next turn and to attack or whatever. Okay, I you can see also that there are a few spaces that are only allowed for certain countries. For example, uh, we have Moscow here, and only Russians units can go from Moscow to Kiev or to this area. Okay, and also we have a small areas. I call these mini games. That is the Caucasus and Syria and Egypt. Normally, in each area, we can put up to 3 armies of each power. Okay, but in that small areas, we only can put 2 armies of each power. This is a general rule. Okay, so let's start. I explain you more or less the geography and few things about the game. Two more things I think are important, that the maximum stacking of 3 units per power, uh, you have to check that at the end of the movement. For example, if there are 3 armies here and this army is moving using this, passing through this area, this is completely correct. There are 4 armies, but just I move here at the end of the turn. We have at this moment is when we have to check to determine if there is if the rules are correct. So doing this movement, it's 100% correct. Another important thing that I must explain you now before explaining all the actions and everything is the control how to control one area. Okay, we have those control markers here. Let me show you to indicate who controls each area. So those are the German control markers. Every time the German controls one area, we must put this marker. Obviously, the German controls of the areas of Germany at the beginning of the game. So we can put one marker in every area of Germany, but honestly, this is not necessary, as we already know that all the areas in Germany belongs or are controlled by the Germans. So we can avoid this. But in case, for example, that the Germans control another area like this one, we must put one control market just to indicate that this area in Italy belongs to France, but we have changed the control, and we indicate this fact with that control maker. Okay, I will explain you later, but to control one area, there have to be alone, so only or solely armies of one power. For example, if there is one French army here, you will see that armies can coexist and maybe there is no combat. You will see later on all those things, but this is perfectly correct. This area, there are the French army here from the beginning, and the Germans come, and maybe in the past there were some attacks. But because the German, at any moment in the past, gets alone with no friends in this area is still a French area. Okay, we could put, if you wish, this symbol, this control market, because maybe it's more clear, but because it's in France, we can avoid this. If the Germans destroy this unit, then this area will control this is will become a German control area. So we will have to put a German marker. Another thing is that if we are moving, for example, if this unit is moving here and next here, at the end of the turn, we will mark this as a German area, okay? Because there is one moment when doing the movement that this army are or has been alone in that area. So in that case, we would change the control of that area. And well, this is important to do at the end of the turn. So we would lose the movement, and this indicates that will be controlled by that power, but we will put the marker at the end of the German turn. Okay, why we need control? Because, as I told you before, the main reason the main way to get victory points is to get enemy cities. So, for example, if the German conquers Brussels, it will get Germans will get 1 victory point because it's um, a city of the enemy coalition. Okay, it's an enemy city. So conquering Brussels gives to the Germans 1 victory point. But on the other side, the French have lost one home city, one home that it has from the beginning, that it's Brussels. In that case, French UK power will lost 1 victory point. Normally, normally not always, when somebody gains 1 victory point, another side loses 1 victory point. There is one interesting rule that uh, you know that Germany and the Austro-Hungarian goes together, are friends. When the German when the Austro-Hungarian conquers one city, for example, Venice, if the Italians conquer Venice, it's an enemy city. In that case, the German will get a victory point as well. So both sides get a victory point, but not vice versa. So when Germany gets one victory point, Austro-Hungarian don't get. And similar thing happened between France and the Russia. If France power or France UK power gets victory point, the Russians doesn't get any one, but when the Russia gets one victory point, the France also gets one victory point. Well, this is the main way to get victory points. And another way to get victory points is when the minor country joins the war. If Italy joins the war, that's both sides of the coalition, in that case, Russia and France will get one victory point. If same with Turkey, both sides would get a victory point, and Bulgaria, Romania, USA. Okay, and Russia surrendered as well. So all those countries, when they reach the end, the sides that have that belongs to that coalition, both powers gets victory point. There is another rule is that two of them that are Bulgaria and Romania, if don't get the final, instead of getting one victory point, they lose. So in terms of victory points, those both country counts twice, because if you don't reach the end, you the coalition, both countries of the coalition lose one victory point, and if you arrive at the end, both gets one victory point. Okay, this is, I think I haven't explained it more or less the basic concepts of the game. uh, um, I think, well, I will explain you now the supply. Okay, supply, it's quite important in this game, because if one unit gets out of supply uh, at any time during the enemy turn, that unit will lose one step. Remember that units have two steps. For any reason, imagine that that unit are at any moment is out of supply. I have to flip this, and now I have to wait to the German turn. At the turn of the Germans, at the end of the German player, if that unit has not recovered the supply, it will be eliminated from the game and will return to the pool to be built again, to recruit it again. So supply is very important. Now I will define you how units get supply. This is very similar to many other games. Let's first define the supply sources. Okay, and then from the supply sources, I have to trace a supply line to every unit, to every army. So supply sources are in a power level. For example, of the cities of France plus all the cities of Serbia plus of the cities of any country belonging to that power are supply sources for any army of that power. In other words, imagine that, I don't know, it is quite difficult, but imagine that they have one French army close to Belgrade. Okay, Belgrade can be used now as a supply source of that army. Why? Because, as I told before, supply sources are in a power level, not in a country level. Okay, so how do I trace a supply line from one army to one supply source? They have to be through control areas of that power. For example, imagine that the French is here and has conquered that city, and this belongs to the French. And let's put, just because it's more real, if I put one French here, sorry, another French here. Okay, see that in that case, that army is supplied because there is a supply line from the army to the supply source, which is Belgrade. And this army is also supplied because there is a supply line from this army to Belgrade passing through this other area. What would, I don't put any market, but this is supposed to be Austro-Hungarian, this is supposed to be Austro-Hungarian, and this is supposed to be Austro-Hungarian. What happened? For any reason, the Austro-Hungarians move here and destroy this army. So, because they are alone, they take control of this area, and at that moment, that army have no supply because cannot trace any line to the supply source. So this can be flipped. At the end of that power, of the French power turn, if that army has not recovered this supply line, this will be eliminated. This is how supply works. I forget one thing when I was explaining how to change the control of one area. I can change the control of one area for those areas that I leave without supply to the enemy. For example, um, if I achieve one French unit, let's say this is Austro-Hungarian, okay? If I achieve one French unit to go, for example, to all these areas, this is just a silly example, but I think you can understand. This area, it's out of supply, obviously, completely. This area will become French control, okay? So this is another way, not as frequent as by moving, but this is another way one power can take control of one area. Uh, I think that's enough for the basic concepts of the game. Let's start with the mechanics. Well, after I have defined the most important concepts of the game, let's start with the mechanics. The game have 18 turns, and at the end of the 18th turn, the power with more victory points is the winner. And in every turn, all the powers play, starting with the German, then the France UK, after the Russian, and finally the Austro-Hungarian. Once every power have played, we will increase the marker forward and we'll start second turn, and so on till we reach the end of the game. At the end of the game, we will calculate the points, and the power with more points is the winner. Okay, we have players will have to choose in each turn between among uh, 6 actions, but they can only choose few of them according the following conditions. For example, the big powers, Germany and France, can only do 3 actions, okay? And the smaller powers, Russia and Austro-Hungarian, can only do 2 of those actions. Actions are recruitment, activation, research, entrench, diplomacy, and missions. If one country wants to do the recruitment actions, have to be done at first place. This is one rule. Second, it's that actions cannot be repeated. Only activation one. Activation action is the only one that can be repeated. Let's start with the first action, which is recruitment. It's important to say that recruitment must be the first action of the player if he wants to do this action. Cannot be performed in any other place other than the first. Recruitment means to grow the forces that are on the map. You can do this in 2 ways. First is upgrading already existing units, and second is creating new units in the home country. Okay, um, when you do this action, Germany, Russia, and French UK have 3 recruitment points, and Austria-Hungary only have 2 of them. Okay, and you must spend these recruitment points among all the countries that forms part of the power. For example, French-UK power is formed by France, UK, Serbia, and probably Italy in the middle of the game. So you have to split those 3 points among all those countries. Apart, there are few countries that are Italy, USA, and Turkey that when the power do this action have one recruitment point for free. Okay, it's free, and this point cannot be given to any other country. Where I can upgrade units. I can upgrade units anywhere on the map. Meanwhile, that unit is in supply. Okay, and upgrading one unit, let's say this from this side to this other side, cost one recruitment point. Now creating units. Where can I create units? I can create units always in the home control areas of the country with city or areas adjacent that country controls. It's better to explain with examples, okay? But this is one condition. So areas of the country that have city and that city's control or adjacent to that. But there is one exception that British and American forces can be created in any port that power controls. If that port is in the Mediterranean, one of these three ports, only small armies can be created. Remember that uh, British have two kinds of armies. I will show you now. Armies of level 3 factor combat factor, or 4. If you want to create those army in a control port in the Mediterranean, must be level 3 or 3 combat factor armies. Okay, those are the places where I can create units. So let's do a few examples and you will understand very easy. The French doing the recruitment. The French have 3 appointments, but first the French will use the free of the Italians. Italians has joined the French UK power, so have 1 point for free. And then this is doing this in Venice. Now French have 3 more to spend among all the countries, and the French decided to upgrade this because it's in supply, 1 point, and 2 more points left. That means create 1 complete unit or 2 reduced unit. In that case, the French decided to create, well, to create 1 British in 1 port, 1 complete unit British in 1 port. That's 2 more points. So the French already finished that action. Let's go to another example. Let me prepare you first. Imagine, okay. Now it's again turn of the French. First of all, the Italians get 1 free, but because all Italian armies are already in the map, this point is loose because they cannot give this point to any other country. Now, the 3 points of the power will be split as follows. They will give 1 point to the Serbians, upgrading this unit, and he will put 1 new army in Metz. Why can I create new army Metz? Because Verdun, normal city should be Verdun, but because I control Verdun, so Verdun is French, okay? No matter to put this control, I control Metz, Verdun, but also I can create adjacent areas that I also control. And I am controlling Metz no matter if there is a city or not, because this area, I am controlling this area and it's adjacent to an area that I control and have a city. So those are the rules of recruitment. Let's go to the next action, which is activation. Activation, it's the only action that can be done more than once in one single turn. Activation means to move or attack or support or move and support or move and attack three different armies. Don't worry, because you will see that it's quite easy. Because activation means to move, let's explain before the movement. Okay, when you move one army, you can do two kinds of movement: tactical and strategical, like many other games. If you activate one army to do a tactical movement, you can move up to 4 areas. But you have to consider that entering in a non-control area costs twice. For example, imagine that I have that army here. I can move 4. That would be correct. 1, 2, 3, and I am not able to enter to the Austro-Hungarian, to the Russian area, because I would need 2 more. Okay, remember that enter to an area that I don't control, it costs twice, so I am not able to enter here. So this is one thing. Another thing is this is the movement by land. Another movement, it's the movement by sea. The the army must start the movement in a port and must end the movement in a port. And only British and USA can do this kind of movement. Another thing is that you are moving to the Mediterranean, only units with 3 combat factor are allowed to move uh, to this area. Okay, and even you can move and attack at the same time. So not with this army, with army level 3. One restriction is that it's for Gallipoli. For this kind of movement, I will read for you. Gallipoli can be only moved or disembark in that case, but using moving in 1915, and only one army, and without the use of aviation. Okay, which is one technology. This is one exception. So those are the movement, and I will explain you the strategical movement. This kind of movement, the strategical, you don't there is no restriction in the number of areas you are crossing. The only condition is that all the areas must be controlled by your side. So imagine that the Germans control this area. It's correct, for example, to move one army from here to here. Okay, but if you do this movement, you spend 2 activations instead of 1. Okay, this kind of movement can only be done by land, never by sea. Okay, I have explained it now, the movement. Let's go to the activation by itself. Let me explain now one thing that, based on the number of queries or from questions I receive, it's not clear. Uh, it's that when you move, the control changes at the end of the turn of the player. I will explain why we do this like that. So imagine that I have one army here, okay, and I activate those 2 armies, and this move first, and say, okay, 1, 2, because it's not controlled by the Germans, 3, 4, and finish here. Okay, so those both areas are under the German control. But I will not put the control markers till the end of the turn. Why? Because this army, if now is moving, they must count 2 areas here instead of 1. If I put one marker here as German, this is not correct, because normally the players will count this as 1, but it's really 2 movement points, because this is changed at the end of the turn. This is the reason we put the control markers at the end of the turn. Okay, let's start with the activation by itself. Activation, when you do this action, you can activate up to 3 armies. No matter the power, all of the powers can activate up to 3 armies to move and to attack or to do a strategical movement. Okay, I will first tell you few rules that are important. Is first that one army can be only attacked once per turn. Okay, per player turns. One army cannot receive two different attacks. Second is that one army can only be activated once per turn. I cannot say, okay, I activate and move, then I activate and attack. That's not possible. Third thing, important thing, is that when you attack, you must select one single army. So combats happen between armies and armies that support the main army and one single defender army. I will see with examples, it's very easy. To attack, you must be adjacent at the beginning of the turn. So for example, a unit here cannot attack because it doesn't start adjacent to the objective, to the target, okay? And you have to move straight. You cannot move up and then attack. You must move straight. Another thing is that um, if you attack first, you must select the full strength army. So if in this situation, for example, if this army wants to attack, must select this as a target, cannot select this. Okay, so those are few rules that some probably players can easily forget. Other thing is who can support the attack. The attack can be supported by other armies of the same power that exceeds the number of armies in the defender side. For example, in that case, one army is free and one army can support the attack because it's 2 against 2. One is free to support. Imagine that here there is only one defender, 2 are free, so both army can support the attack. See that what is not possible is that these are army attacks and these other army attacks because one army can only be attacked once, remember, once per turn. Okay, but the others, if they are free, can support the main attack. Who will receive the hits of the combat? The main army, that the army who is attacking main. For example, if those armies supports the attack, this will not receive any hits. The main attacker and the defender will be the ones to receive hits. So once I explain these rules, let's see how we can do that. Okay, imagine at the beginning of the turn, this is the situation, and the Germans do the activation action. So he activates this army. This army, see that doesn't need to move because they are already in the area where is the defender. So in the German player activates this army to attack. This army needs to move and attack, but cannot attack. In that case, that army, what is doing is supporting the attack, and a third army goes here to support the attack as well. So there will be one main army attacking and 2 supporting the attack. Okay. If you attack or you defend, you take the combat factor of the army, but if you support, you take +2 if the army is complete or +1 if the army is reduced. Imagine that both army are complete. In that case, it's 5 +2 plus the die roll. The defender will get 4. Forest doesn't give any anything in the combat factor. It give another thing I will tell you later. But there is a trench. If there is a trench, no matter the level of the trench, it give +2 in France, Germany, and Belgium, and also +2 in two cities of Russia, which are Kiev and Vilna. I think Kiev, Kiev and Vilna. I think, let me check. Riga, sorry, Riga and Kiev. In any other place, they get only +1. Okay, so in that case, the combat is in France. The defender will get +2. So in total, we have 5 +2 +2. That's 9 against 6. We roll the dice. Germans roll 9 +2. It's 11. French, it's 6 +2. 8. It's 11 against 8. Germans win, but doesn't doubles. When the loser always receive 2 hits, and because the loser is always is one army, this army is eliminated because receive 2 hits. Remember that half army can receive one hit, and full army can receive 2 hits. Okay, so the defender is eliminated, and because the attacker doesn't doubles, the attacker receive 1 hit. So the main attacker will receive 1 hit. Okay, and this is how the attacks works with one trench. Let's do another example. Imagine that there is here 2 French units. Okay, and this is the initial situation. And the German says, okay, I will activate 3 units. This will attack to this unit. This will attack to this unit. And the third one move and support this attack. Okay. So in that case, let's see. First attack is 5 + 2. 7 against 6. 4 + 2 of the trench. 7 against 6. Roll the dice. It's 7 + 2, 9. 6 + 1, 7. So the Germans win. The French loses 2 steps and it's eliminated. And the French, because it doesn't double, suffers 1 hit. And this is 5 for the Germans against 6 because there is a trench. Okay, 5 + 1, sorry, +4, it's 9. 6 + 3, it's 9. There is a tie, I think, if I calculate correctly. 9, yes, 4, 6, 9. Because there is a tie, nobody wins, so every side gets 1 hit. Okay, and this is the final situation. See that we finished the combat and there are still armies of the 2 sides in the area. What would happen if I would eliminated this unit? Okay, in that case, see that the trench will be eliminated because there are no any other army to support this trench, any friend army. Okay, this will be eliminated, and the Germans would take control of the area because they are alone in the area. There aren't any enemy army here, so the Germans will take control. Let's see another example. I will show now how we can use trench to absorb hits. Okay, imagine that there is one French here with one trench and comes 2 Germans, move and attack, move and support. Okay, and the Germans win. The Germans win the combat and beats that army. So that army have to take 2 hits. Normally he will be eliminated, but instead of this, the trench can absorb 1 hit, and the second hit must be absorbed by the army. But see, in that case, the army still keeps in the area, and normally that army uh, had to retire, to have to retire, but because there is boots, there are forests here, this army can keep there. So when the trench absorbs 1 hit, the army, if the army save 1 hit and can stay in the area, meanwhile the combat is in forest. Okay. Also, if there were a level 2 trench, similar thing. So no, imagine that the combat is here and the Germans win. Okay. So one hit can be absorbed by the trench, so these two becomes one, and the other with the army. Okay, normally this army had to retreat, but because there is no forest, but see that in that case, because trench in Italy was a level 2 trench, this army keeps. So you keep in the area if the trench absorb one hit and you are in forest or the trench was level 2 trench. Okay, those are the two situations that you don't need to retire. You have to stay in the same area. Okay, lastly, let me explain you how the technologies work. We have, I will show you, for example, we have defender can use the defense technology, an attacker can use the attack technology. Okay, so I will explain you later on, but to develop level 2, I had first to have been developed level 1. So I cannot develop level 3 if level 1 and level 2 has already been developed. Okay, so let's do this other way. Imagine that those are the technologies of the French and those are the technologies of the German. So in a combat, the defender can use the defense technology and the attacker can use the attack technology. Imagine that the Germans have developed all of them and the French have developed all of them. If the level, if the higher level of the technology is higher than the higher level of the other technology, the winner will have +1 in the dice. So if it's 3 against 2, the German will have +1. If it's 3 against 1, same thing. German will have +1. If it's 3 against non-technology, the German will have +1. And vice versa. If Germans that are attacking have no technology and French have either this one or this one, the defense will have +1. Okay, this is how these technologies works in the combat. Let's see another technology, which is the aviation. Aviation can only be used by the attacker, and spending one mission, I will tell you later how to create missions. So imagine that this is the initial situation. The Germans say, okay, I have the aviation, so I spend one mission and I will have +2 in the combat. You can only use aviation once per turn because it's First World War and it's supposed aviation was not so developed, so you can use only once. But if the defender has developed aviation 2, can say, okay, I use one mission and that counters your mission. But see that the German still have one mission left, so the German can say, okay, I spend the last mission and you cannot counter because there is no missions left for you, so I will get +2. This is how aviation works, giving +2 to the attacker. Okay, and last technology I will show you is the tanks. Okay, well, if you have, well, tanks, see that 5 means that you cannot build tanks at the beginning of the game. You first have to build another 4 technologies, and this can be the 5th or 6th or whatever, but not can be one of the first 4 technologies. And this is tanks 1 because if there is no number, it's tanks 1. That means that that technology uh, makes a level 1 trench useless. Okay, if I had tanks 2, that technology can make a level 2 level 2 trench useless. To use tanks, I also have to spend one mission. If I have no missions, I cannot use tanks. And we have another technology. No, this there is another technology which is called, I have no access because I am using the German power, but there is another technology which is maneuver, that instead of activating 3 armies, you can activate up to 4 armies. Okay, well, more or less I have explained you all the technologies and how the attack works. I think there is only one left thing I should explain you, is that if you are engaged in one area and you activate one army, you have to move to a control area. So imagine this situation. This of course is French. If I activate this army and wants to move, I cannot move here because it's French control and I am engaged. In that case, I can move here because it's German, obviously, or here. Okay? This is another restriction of the movement. Two more things is that imagine, like, let's make simple, that I am attacking this army, okay, and I win. I am the German, but this army normally would take 2 steps, 2 hits, but only have one. In that case, this army only takes one, okay, and the attacker don't take anything, don't have to lose anything, okay. Normally the attacker would lose one if it doesn't double, but because the defender only takes one, the loser only takes one, the winner don't need to take anything. Okay? And vice versa, no matter if you are attacking or you are defending. If the other side had to take 2 hits but only takes one, you save 1 hit. Okay, this is important. Okay, next action I would like to talk about, it's the research. Research, we use this action to develop technologies. Okay, at the beginning of the game, every player in secret selects 3 technologies and put here. Those technologies are half developed, need another step to be finished. Okay, so how we can develop technologies? When doing this action, we can do 2 things. One technology that is here to put in level 2 box, and next turn when that player is playing, they can take out this technology and use it and use it till from then. Okay, so when I do this action, I can do 2 things: start a technology, or a technology that already started in previous turns, I can put from 1 to 2. There are one exception of this rule is at in the last year of the war in 1918, I can put straight in secret technologies in box 2, so only need one step to be developed. Another thing is that technologies have some restrictions, so you have to develop in order. For example, I need defense level 1 to develop defense level 2, and I need, it's not here, but I need attack 1 and 2 to develop level 3 attack. Okay, and that number here means that that technology, which is tanks, needs at least to be the 5th or more. So you need at least 4 technologies to be developed before starting develop it this one. Okay, I think nothing else regarding technologies. Yes, that's all. It's, you see, it's a very easy action. Next action I would like to explain is entrenching. Entrenching, it's very easy to explain. It means that when doing this action, I can create one level 1 trench in a place that there is an army. For example, here I have an army, so the action is create one trench, level 1, or alternatively, if I have level 1, I can update to level 2. Okay, remember that level 1 and level 2 give the same modification to the die, but needs another technology to be countered. So it's better level 2. One thing is that I cannot do things like move and then entrenching. The army has to be in the area at the beginning of the turn, or have to be recruited in that turn, but you cannot move and then do an entrenching action. Next action, it's the missions action. I don't know if you remember that we use missions to for two things: to use tanks against trenches and to use aviation when attacking. So to use those technologies, we need to create missions points. It's as easy as spend one action to create up to 4 missions points. Uh, for example, if I am the Austro-Hungarian, I am here, I do this action, I add 4 and gets the 5 position. Okay, I forget to tell you that the both tanks technology and the other thing, the tanks and the aviation, when you develop, it gives you 2 missions for free. So you saved those missions. Next action I would like to explain is the diplomacy action. This action is used to that minor countries to join the war, and to do that we need that marker to arrive at the end. The action is very easy. You can take any track and move 2 spaces forward or 1 space backward. That's all you need to know to move that track. There are few restrictions that are on the panel regarding which years you can do that. Or, for example, USA can only France, British, or German can move this track. Okay, but it's quite easy. One, this marker arrive at the end. That that country uh, in that case Turkey will join the one side. In that case, joins the Austro-Hungarian side, and at the end of the game, both sides will receive 1 victory point. Remember that you can receive victory points basically by 2 things: uh, conquering cities or reaching the end of each track here. Okay, there is one thing important, that if you don't at the end of the game you didn't achieve Bulgaria and Romania ends, in that case, instead of winning 1 victory point, you lose 1 victory point. That victory point affects always the 2 countries of the 2 powers of the coalition. So it's good for both Germans and Austro-Hungarians to reach uh, Turkey at the end, because both will receive 1 victory point. Russian surrender, it's the same system, other countries, but they have one condition, is that the Central Powers uh, previously had to conquer at least 2 cities in Russia. When this happened, and from 1918, uh, only the Central Powers can move this forward. If this reaches the last position, means that Russia has surrendered, and to Russia and Romania has surrendered, and this means 2 things. First, that Russia cannot go outside his country to an uncontrolled areas, and from then they will receive only 1 recruitment point every time he do recruitment. Also, they cannot attack nor being attacked. Okay, this is very easy and could give 1 victory point for both sides. It's important. One thing I didn't mention is that the fourth, you remember the way of giving victory points, but there are four cities in Russia: Riga, Vilna, Warsaw, and let me check the other one. Yes, those cities: Riga, Vilna, Warsaw, and Kiev, and Minsk. Sorry, let me read again. Warsaw, Minsk, Vilna, and Riga. No matter who conquers, if Austro-Hungarian or German, only counts for the German. Okay. Last rule I would like to explain to you is the cooperation between German and Austro-Hungarian. The German power can give temporarily armies to Austro-Hungarian. It's very easy, have to move no matter if it's tactically or strategically, have to move one army to one area with Austro-Hungarians or an area controlled by Austro-Hungarian power. From then, that army will be used by the Austro-Hungarian power. Okay, but if this army suffers one hit, sorry, for example, it's flip, the German power is in charge to upgrade. Okay, that army can use the attack and defense technology of the Germans, and at any moment the Germans can recover in German's turn, just activating that army and putting in an area that the Austro-Hungarian doesn't control. This is quite simple. Just there is a limitation to do this, I think. Let me check in the rules. From 1915, okay, from 1915, the Germans can give temporarily armies to Austro-Hungarians. And I think that's all. Please, well, at the end of the game, obviously, we will see the victory points, and the power with more victory points is the winner. And I think that's almost all the rules of this game. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any doubt. You can write down on YouTube on this video, or whatever you need, please let me know. Thank you very much for arriving at the end of this video.